Babes, how are we doing? Today's video, I don't even know how long it's going to be, and we're kind of just winging it here. But we're reviewing Skypiea. I just finished reading Skypiea literally like 3 minutes ago. I think you can actually see the book right there. That book is left off in such a weird spot too, and the end does kind of it doesn't necessarily it drags a bit. It drags a bit, and the beginning also drags a bit as well. But I'm reviewing Skypiea. The last time that I saw Skypiea was actually watching in the anime, and in the anime it's even longer. It's super long. I think that that's everyone's biggest gripe with Skypiea. It's like, dude, we're still stuck up here in the sky, and it's a bit obnoxious. But I do have some newer opinions, having just read it and having my nice recency bias that I would like to share. Talking about kind of what we saw from the Straw Hats, what we saw from the story, the overarching premise of it, and kind of what I thought. The biggest thing with Skypiea is we're coming off of Alabasta, which Alabasta is phenomenal. I finished reading that not too long ago as well, and it's just very, very good the entire way through. The desert-esque, like, background scenery and themes are fantastic. Crocodile's unbeaten. Crocodile is a better villain than Enel or Niru, but Enel's still good. He's still good. We'll call him Enel. I prefer Enel. I think Aniru is still good, but the L's and R's are always being mixed around. I think his name is technically Aniru. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. But we're coming off such a great high, it's kind of tough not to crash. The good news is I think the crash actually happens before we even get into Skypiea, and that was with Jaya. Jaya is a bit of a crash for me. It's a bit of a slow down and stop, almost to a halt. But what's funny is every time we visit Mocktown, it's fantastic. Mocktown is excellent. It's where we meet Blackbeard and the Blackbeard Pirates. It's actually where the Gorosei comes out, where we see Shanks again. The introduction of our first, like, warlords besides Mihawk, the government, including, I almost said Sakazuki, Sengoku, the fleet admiral at the time, and the designs behind all of it was insane. But we got all of that from Mocktown. And then just all the moments with Bellamy and stuff like that that led to Skypiea. And I think that's a miniature version of what we get from Alabasta to Jaya, from Mocktown to the beginning of Skypiea. The beginning of Skypiea is slow. It's slow. We just had our badass trio of Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy take on the world and save Alabasta, taking out their three strongest warriors, and then they just get slapped immediately. I think it's not very clear. It's one of the Shandorians. I think we're supposed to say that it's Wiper, and I guess you can give that to him, but it's a little goofy to see them all just kind of take an L off the bat, and just saying like how tough it is to fight up there, which starts to become not a thing. Skypiea at the beginning. When they make it to Angel Island, it's slow and it's not the best. I'm not the huge fan of dials until later in the Skypiea arc, but at the beginning it's just kind of like like this technology, I guess it's something, but I'm not too big of a fan until we get into it. The waivers and technology that surround the dials are pretty interesting. Nami's entrance to the Forbidden Forest and understanding what that's all about is pretty intriguing, and kind of gets us like, oh, like what the fuck is going on here? And being introduced to Ganfor, which is hilarious to me because he's literally Gandalf, but his name is Ganfor. Clearly taken from Gandalf, and he's a Sky Knight and all that, but he also turned into a pretty great character. But the beginning's just boring. We got the police that are just kind of like slowing us down. The people of the island are obviously like in this weird state of being unable to act on exactly what they want. So they're under this heavy rule, and you come to find out later, and I think that they actually circle back to the people really well, but at the beginning I'm just not digging it. I'm just not digging anything that's with the Skypiea. The Force division of the crew where they just like went like that because they were brought to the sacrificial altar and all that was a bit whatever. Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy on the boat was a bit too long, to be honest. The moment with Konus as she's seeing them off was really solid. I like that. And you see that that was her first time going against what she believed to be right her entire life. Just because of, once again, she's discount Vivi, basically, but because of friendship and because of the good feelings that she has towards these Blue Sea people. But as they leave and they understand, like, we got to get this shit done, and they're going into the forest, like, we gotta save the day, we gotta get to our people, and then they get their ass whooped by a Teletubby, and all of that takes a while. Like, that's at least 2 volumes, maybe 3. I think that might be stretching it a bit. It kind of amazes me how long Skypiea is volume wise, because I'm just like, it shouldn't be this long, but it is. They get their ass worked by the Teletubby. They end up beating him. They end up doing it. But that was the introduction of Mantra, aka, as we know it, hockey, observation specifically. But it was such a weak introduction that we actually had to be reintroduced to it. Kind of. That was our introduction to observation. We didn't get an introduction to armament and kings until Rayleigh, I believe. That should be the first time. I don't think there was another... Well, yeah, no, that should be it. That should be it. But they basically had to reintroduce it again. But the challenges were very all right. All 4 of those characters, I don't remember their name. The mustache man, Shadis, is that his name, with the mustache and the bird? The flame guy, Ohm, who's my favorite, the Iron Man, Gadatsu, who's kind of the clowny, swampy guy, who he straight up died. I guess he didn't, and then the Teletubby. And the Teletubby, Gadatsu, are both pretty damn lame. I love Chopper, but no. I mean, you give him a moment, sure, but I'm not super into it, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. When I believe this arc really starts is once the Game of 81 begins. The introduction of Enel, and that's kind of when Skypiea really begins to take off. I think Enel is a fantastic villain. I don't think that, like I said, he's as good as Crocodile, but he is still excellent. He still is that, like, god-type dude that doesn't give a fuck about anybody, who's only there for himself, who has no, like, worldly desires. Like, nothing's tethering him to the world. He only gives a shit about himself, his legacy, and all of that. Just straight up being a god. And he kind of is. He's super broken. And now that I've read that, and I'm where I'm at, obviously caught up with the chapters, he still is a problem. He still is that dude. He can still go toe-to-toe with a lot of people. And I think that we're going to see him again. I just don't know in what capacity that would be. I mean, it would have to be the end at this point, but I don't know what that's going to be looking like. But as the game goes on and we slowly see the 50 warriors of the Angels of Enel's crew, forget exactly what they're called, and then the Shandorians kind of battling it out. It's fun to see a lot of the crew kind of interact with that. One of the biggest L's of this is Luffy just not being a part of it the entire time, just about. He had that little showing with Wiper, and then, of course, he got his ass kind of beat by the Teletubby, but ends up getting it done. Him just being in the snake the whole time seems like a waste. I get why they did it. You kind of have to, because Enel is that dude, and we know that his natural counter is Luffy. So, like, you bring Luffy into the story, it's probably not as exciting as it was. So I get it, but it's tough to go and just not deal that much with Luffy throughout the entirety of this. An underrated fight, and I think Zoro has another solid arc under his belt, is his fight with Brahmin. The dude with the beanie who's like over his eyes, who's a really cool character design, fun with the flash guns and stuff, and we're seeing Zoro start to struggle a bit with air combat. But he's able to take that dude out. And one of my favorite things I just read is them drinking at the end because nobody wants to fight and they're all like chill. And he's like, dude, that was a good fight. Like, that was some good shit. One of the Straw Hats that actually shines the most in the entirety of this arc is Robin. And where I think Oda excelled in character development, it was Robin. We knew Robin was an archaeologist, and especially if you read Jaya and Mocktown, you see how like heavily she is in like being an archaeologist and actually like figuring out time periods, different things like that, clues and stuff. She's Indiana Jones, basically. She's kind of gone away from that. She's kind of just the bitch that reads shit now. And has all the information that she doesn't want to share with anybody. But her exploring, you know, the ancient city and exploring the ruins and kind of her fight with the leader of the 50 Angels is excellent. It's really good. She didn't have really much challenge there. The only time that she was really hurt, she was just kind of running away. But her just, you understanding how much she respects history and where that's coming from. And the fact that we're about to learn that when we go to Eni's lobby. Robin is just such a nice, fleshed out character. Like, she's just so, you kind of know why she ticks the way she does and how she is. And from going from a villain to, you kind of see how she works and kind of what drives her. And you realize that she was really just with Crocodile to kind of get the history of things and developing her brain even more, any means necessary, is really fun. And I think that she excels more than anyone else. Nami also had a really good arc. Her starting out being like, I'm good on this waiver, to saving the day with that same waiver is really cool. To seeing her kind of be at the feet of Aniru and be like, there's nothing I'm gonna do here, so let me like just hang out with you for a bit. Another some people that didn't have a good showing are Usopp and Sanji, especially Sanji. You expect it from Usopp to kind of get, you know, beat up, but with Sanji just gets zapped and he's out for basically he's out for the entire game, right? I think he was one of the first people out of the game. And then we see them go to rescue Nami as their like next mission, which they don't really do. He has a cool moment, but it's not really enough for him, I guess, because he didn't really fight anybody. He didn't really do anything. The ball guy kind of, but I would hope to God that Luffy and Sanji could get that done. Like, hello? But yeah, not the best. I liked the part where Usopp and him climbed up there. It's not extremely necessary, but I get it. They were able to save Nami. Usopp didn't really do much either. I like his training at the end where he's like, here's a rubber band. Here's some metal. Give me all these expensive dials because you guys are dumb and don't know what this technology is. That's fun. Chopper has a solid showing. He shows off some of his fighting ability. He's the first one there. It's funny to see him go through like the game because everyone's just kind of ignoring him and there's like all this bloodshed and war around him and he's just kind of like, holy shit, I gotta get out of here. That's funny. Like I said, Luffy's just not used too much. But let's get into the Shandorians. So the Shandorians, I think, are awesome. I think that they're really fun and they are great. Besides the flashback, because it's kind of tough to say who I like more between Kalgara and Wiper. I might have to give it to Wiper. But Wiper's a bad man. Like, that dude is insane. The amount of punishment that he took just as a dude, I'm like, Zoro, he has you beat on durability in that arc. He has you beat, which is insane. Which is actually insane when you think about it. Because I'm like, this dude just has you beat, like, for no reason. Of course, he broke every single bone in his body, it seemed. But he was kind of chilling. He was kind of fine. Like, he got up almost like it was nothing. And I'm like, hello? Like, what's going on there? He had the rejects. I think he did it a total of 3 times. The last one on the Jack, one on Anel, and the last one on the last one to start off the game with the mustached man, because we were kind of done with him. We kind of fleshed him out with this fight with Ganfor. But that guy is just awesome. He's like the demon. Like, Isa's like scared of him, and she's cool because she has the voice of all things. She just has that. She just straight up has it. And if you don't think she has it, go back and look at Momonosuke. Momonosuke's doing the same thing. It's like, dude, my head hurts. Like, I'm hearing all these things. And she was the first one to introduce that, which we have to believe is probably connected to hockey in some way. But it's interesting to see that that's the first place you see it. A lot of things, like I'm telling you, in Mocktown, that's where the Gorosei started. That's where we saw them for the first time, where the military and the Navy are starting to get fleshed out. It all happened then. Like, I was like, damn, this happens here? Like, that's kind of crazy. Doflamingo, like, dude, you have your own arc in, like, 10 years. Which is just wild. All the planning and stuff that Oda put into it. But the Shandorians are really cool. I like a lot of their designs. And they really do some good stuff. The flashback is, to that point, the best flashback. Yes, period at the end of that sentence. To that point is the best flashback, and I probably give it top 5. What's the most amazing about that flashback is, I couldn't give you a list right now, but the other 4 of the 5, recency bias, the other 4 of the 5 are going to be characters that we know, are going to be characters that are like present, you know? I guess except Oda, but he's very present anyway. Odin, not Oda. But everybody else would be still active. All the people in that flashback aren't active anymore. Except the old man. Except the old man at the end, because they were like, he was like, I didn't think I'd hear that bell ring again. I'm like, brother, how old are you? What are you talking about? You were old back then. And I'm like looking, and I'm like, I guess that's the descendant, because I see in the flashback it's the old man. And I'm like, the descendant's alive? And it's like, no, 400 years. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What do you mean? How old are you? That dude's got to be at least 400 or 500 years old. And I'm like, it's weird, it's strange, it won't be explained, but whatever. But Kalgara almost sacrificing his daughter, and Cricket coming there and kind of like saving the day. And then the thing with the ancestor trees, and him like, I can save everybody, I can do it. And then they're all pissed because of the gold, and they're like, I'll be back. And I'm like, oh, they love each other. It's like so sweet. And then they're not there, and he gets killed. And I'm just like, damn, like they really bonded. Like that flashback hit. That flashback hella hit. And that guy was called a liar. And then it goes all the way back at the end. So let me tell you about the end. Like I said, it just, the trajectory of Skypiea is like, at least the lull is at the beginning. Because as the lull is at the beginning, that shit just climbs. It just climbs and climbs and climbs until the climax. When you're down to the last few, you see how powerless everyone truly is to Enel. Something I've always thought about is the fact that Zoro lost, but we're still gonna say he's undefeated. He got back up. Enel left, okay? But I always think about that because I'm like, you said you weren't gonna lose again. Wait a minute. Kuma too, but you know he would have lost, but he left. Whatever. But they all get sauced up. He hits him with the reject, which is crazy. And what else is crazy is the sea stone. I don't know how the fuck he got that. It's probably some ancient treasure that came up from the sea way back when. But that was kind of nuts too. I'm like, how do you have sea stone? What are you talking about? You should have won right there. And now should have been done, but he wasn't. He escapes, and then the flashback and everything, once he hits the Arc Maxim, which I love, the design of the Arc Maxim is great. I love the idea of Enel being in that, being powered by his Rumble fruit, which is just so broken. They're saying this is the most broken, and I'm like, I believe them. Like, holy shit. But once he starts to go away, there's like 3 or 4 volumes more. And I'm just like, what the fuck else? Because one almost entire volume is the flashback, but not even. Luffy's just trying to get up there and running, and he goes and fights him the first time. And there's the funny part of like, oh my god, like I can't do anything. And then he hits him with the gold, which is cool because it gives us a payoff at the end. Because there's all like Angel Island gets destroyed. The ruins, not the ruins, the Shandori camp is being like destroyed as well. Just so that they get brought together at the end, which is another really good homage to the beginning of it. But even on top of all of that, when it's down to like everything and the entire Sky Island's about to be destroyed, and Luffy goes up there and destroys it, you see all the people praying, and you see how far that they've come, and they understand this now. And even the one Barrett guy who you don't like at the beginning, you can't not like at the end. One, he takes a hit from the lightning, and two, he's like, I've always known what kind of a man he was. I just wanted to protect everybody because I know at his old Sky Island, when they revolted, he killed them. And I just wanted to keep people alive as much as possible. And I was like, all right. I get it. You guys didn't stand a chance. You stood no chance. You got so lucky. So lucky. But you got lucky and it worked out. That's Luffy. Luffy is lucky. But them taking down the Beanstalk and Wiper's end to his character arc is beautiful. Not even just with the end with him being like, it will ring again. He's like, I will for Cricket. Boom. But at the end, he's like, nobody wants to fight. And this demon, you just see, he just is like almost freed of it again. Of course, he's like, nobody will extinguish the light ever again. But that's just who he is. And he is probably the best character. I think he beats Enel in terms of great characters introduced in that arc. But same with Conus. I mean, she went down, told everybody, guys, we got to get the fuck out of here. I started this shit. I told you I wasn't fucking around. Like, we need to leave. And they're like, okay, she's right. We got to go. And they went at the right time. And if they didn't leave, they were all going to die. They were all going to die right there. And the end with all of them partying. It's a pretty quick end compared to a lot. I think that's partially because not a lot of people were super damaged where they like couldn't heal fast, which is kind of ridiculous. I'm like, Enel, you didn't kill the old warriors that Gonfor led. You didn't kill the vassals didn't die. You didn't kill nobody in the games died. You didn't kill. I'm like, how did you not kill anybody? Like, what? He's like, oh, they're all still alive. I'm like, that's just, there's no way that's the case. You get the poneglyphs, so you get Roger talking a bit about the Sky Island, which is fun to see later down the line. But it was a clean end. A very good arc. Like I said, I got the recency bias, and the payoff with Cricket with the bell at the end is beautiful. The idea of the bell is fantastic. because we heard about the bell from the very beginning. We get the flashback to see the importance of the bell, and then we finally get the bell rung by the main character who had been kind of sleeping the entire arc, which is excellent. Obviously, the slow start, Luffy sleeping at the beginning, Sanji having a shit showing. I think Enel's great. I give him by himself an A. I don't give him an A+. But he did very, very good. I want to say that I almost think he gets too much screen time. He's a phenomenal villain. I just don't know if he's able to. I mean, he carried it. I just feel like he got a little bit too much screen time. A little bit. Like, you could have given him, because they didn't give him any at the beginning, and then it was just like the Enel show. And I get that. But towards the end, I was just like, I don't know. Like, you're saying, you're spitting the same things. I know that's what you're about, but I'm getting a little tired of it at this point. I think even that's a little bit picky. But before I reread it just now, I would have definitely not given it the grade that I'm about to give it. I would have said that it was somewhere in B. But I gotta say that Skypiea gets an A-. I think that it does what it does very well. I think it is a bit long and slow at the beginning. And there's not a lot of phenomenal characters introduced. There's not. But Wiper and Enel carry. Conus and Gamfor are great. And the whole technology system, everything that's happening in the sky, and kind of the theme and setting that surrounds it, I think also carries it as well and shows Oda's like range in terms of art, which is wild. So A- for Skypiea. It was fantastic. If you haven't read it in a little bit, I definitely recommend it. I know this video is a bit longer than most of my other ones, but we're on a break, people. Okay. I might do another one. I kind of like Alabasta's already out of my mind. It was fantastic. It's fantastic. I might do one on that. I'll definitely probably do one on Ennies next time we get a break. Because I believe that that's still the best arc in my opinion. It's just so good for so many reasons. But we'll get there when we get there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, sub, do what you got to do, and I'll see ya.